Hello and welcome to Tip of the Tongue, a monthly advice podcast for voice actors, producers, and anyone else who wants to make projects on the internet. Everyone's got that passion project they've wanted to make since as far back as you can remember, and this is where we help you learn how to make it happen. I'm Jello.
And I'm William.
I'm a graphic designer, illustrator, voice actor, writer, director, and producer.
And I'm your future boss. Well, not really, but for today, let's pretend that I could be. We've discussed resumes in the past, but we've never talked about the interview itself. It's useful information for first impressions and a basic skill that some folks seem to have trouble with. We'll talk about the interview itself, presentation, and even talking about what to do if you are running the interview and looking to hire. I think a lot of people overthink interviews if they're going to one. It's understandable. It's a nerve-wracking experience. It's the possibility or not getting a job. I think you can breathe pretty easy, and in fact, it works out better for you if you go in with confidence. Not overconfident, obviously, but
Confidence, like, you might have to fake it, but
Yeah.
like faking confidence isn't as hard as you think. You just have to lie to yourself with energy. And I know that sounds bad, but that's life. This is the dark tip of the tongue episode.
yeah, we're going and swinging.
No, like, just one of the things is just like every other piece of advice we give is don't be an asshole, and the nicer way of saying that, just be pleasant. Like, be friendly, act like you're interested even if you're not. Like, if you've gone to like 6 job interviews this month and you're still unemployed and it's like, I just need something to get my parents off my back or whatever. And I know how it is, Gen Z. It's just like, okay, I just need this like convenience store job, and no one wants to work at like the night shift at a 7-Eleven, but like if you go in, you're like, yeah, I'm really ready to get this job, and they're like, okay, why are you interested? Well, it's nearby. I honestly, I do just need the job, but like I don't actually think, as long as you say that, like, honestly, not like, yeah, I mean, I need money, man, like that's the big difference.
I mean, you can always just phrase it of, I thought this would be a great opportunity to gain experience in this field, or build up on my communication skills, interacting with customers, things of that sort. Like, if you can swing it so that it's not just like money, obviously is useful. Don't
like,
go
don't come out swinging with that. I'm just saying, like, the attitude difference of, like, I think a lot of employers, especially if it's like that kind of job, will be like, all right, makes perfect sense. If you're like, I mean, like, this reason, and like, I mean, honestly, I could use a job right now and I could use some extra cash flow. No one's going to be like, what? You want a job to make money? Fuck you. Like, we're all trapped in this monster that is capitalism. We all know how it is.
This is 7-Eleven, not a charity. What are you doing?
We're not gonna pay you.
We do, actually, because there are laws and stuff, but I can find someone else.
Oh, side note for like artists and shit. If you're, I don't know what you're called. If you are ever being told like, oh, do this job for exposure or experience, no, you don't need to. You can just flat out say no. Do it. Like, never waste your time for not money. If you're a specialty skill, you absolutely don't need to. There is always a job somewhere.
Yeah, time is your most valuable asset.
Because if you are being told like, hey, no, like, you'll get exposure and blah, 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 and you can put it on your portfolio. You know what else you can get exposure from? And you know what else you can put on your portfolio is shit you do on your own time while you're not working for someone else.
Yeah, and honestly, that can sometimes look better. But we're more focused on getting an actual, Yeah. So I guess one of the other main things when it comes to doing an interview, look the part, look nice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you don't need to buy, depending on the job, obviously, that you're applying for, you don't need a big fancy 3-piece suit or some super expensive dress and nice heels. Like, just go in looking like you shaved, wear some deodorant, comb your hair. Just don't
brush your teeth.
Yeah. Like, take, for example, for my interview with 2 radio stations that I went to, and I got job offers for both. I went in with just a really nice button-up shirt. I had a nice shirt underneath that, and then I had just a nice necklace. I wore, I think it was just jeans, honestly, just really nice pair of jeans. Like, this is, do not walk in with holes in your damn jeans or dirt and crap. Like, this is a brand new pair of jeans and some dress shoes and all that.
Or like khaki pants or something.
Khakis are also a great option. if you want to look nice but still be comfortable.
Oh, show up like 10 minutes early.
That is also huge. Show up early, but not super early. 10 minutes is that like nice mark.
Not only does that look good, like that should basically that should be the baseline. Like anyone else who is really your competition for this job will also be smart enough to show about like to not be late.
Yeah.
And if you get there early, sometimes they have little things to have you fill out, like just like how available are you and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Give us some basic information.
Yeah, just look the part. I mean, for applying for this job, though, just an example of like dressing differently for the different parts. The one that I had applied to where I dressed like that, which was a little more casual, but I wouldn't actually describe it as casual. That was for an on-air position in a little town called Mouston, in Wisconsin. Their mascot was a tiny mouse.
That's adorable, honestly.
It was adorable. And that interview went super great. And I was actually given an offer, but then they told me that they thought I would fit better for a sales position. And I went, that's not what I applied for. Goodbye. Anyways, for the job that I currently have, I'm not even fucking with this. I did black shirt, red tie, black dress pants, black dress shoes, and then I had a...
Oh, you going to the Scene Kids dance?
Yeah, basically. And then I wore a black leather blazer because I like wearing that. And I also have my leather gloves on. Now, that doesn't always work. The only reason why it probably worked in my favor was because this is radio. But I dressed a lot more professional because this was for the production director position for 4 radio stations at the time. We're now 5. And probably the best or very close to the best in the market. I couldn't dress up, like a homeless person or anything like that, or even my more casual self. I needed to look the part and be professional because they're asking someone to run their production.
And like, you don't have to wear like if you have to like buy a thing, like just for like one time to wear it for this interview, that's fine. Like literally, so pretty much every day I have a rainbow of different soda shirts. So literally right now I'm just wearing like Sprite and a big green shirt and like basketball shorts because they're the comfiest things that I own.
Mm-hmm.
And like I own pants. And I do own pants.
Oh.
Confirmed. I know. I'm sorry. I shouldn't flaunt my wealth.
The fucking YouTube money showing.
Yeah, I can buy pants and not just one leg, both of them. Anyway.
Check out these Verve pants. Anyways.
They just say Verve right across the ass. So terrible. Like I never wear. Like, I never wear khaki pants, and I never wear, like, polos. I never, ever wear a button-up shirt. Most people don't while they're just chilling around at home. But, like, I do own all those things.
Yeah.
At least one of each. And you wear them to the interview, and then if you get the position, you might not even have to ever wear them again. Just be like, oh, what's the dress code? Oh, like I worked at a zoo for a while, and they're just like, here, we'll give you a green shirt, and you just have to wear khaki shorts. And shoes. So can you afford shoes? And I'm like, I got that YouTube money. I can buy some shoes.
Thanks, Audible.
Thanks. They squeak when you walk because they're audible.
Every step is one word for your book. Harry then entered the Chamber of Secrets. That one's 2 syllables for some reason.
Can you imagine how fucking annoying that would be? Where you're just in an elevator like, I want to listen to my books. You start squeaking back and forth.
Anyways,
this is about interviews.
Yeah, we're not talking about our Kickstarter project. So yeah, like just be mindful of what you need to dress for.
And like, again, act like you care, have energy, be friendly. It doesn't matter if you couldn't get, like, if you need this job no matter what, don't act super desperate. Act like eager to be there, happy they're giving you your their time, happy you've got a shot, and be like, yeah, thank you very much, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
don't overthink it, but be pleasant.
Yeah. And I always like to tell people, be optimistic, like truly be optimistic, because take for example when I got this job 6.5 years ago now, I had been out of college for 2 months. And I had the balls to go, I can be your production director, I bet. And it was more just like, okay, I just need to prove to my parents that I'm trying to get a job. And I was. But then I got a call 2 days later saying, hey, can you come in Monday? I went, this is William Sopp. Did you call the wrong guy? I just want to make sure. I want to make sure, like, no, we really liked you. Come on in.
I showed up in a
Shit,
red tie and a
you
black
fools.
blazer. Oh, the other thing is everyone will have different like callback dates, so don't like get super discouraged. Like my mom just transitions jobs and she like auditioned. She went out for an interview and she was like, it went really well, but I haven't heard back. And she didn't hear back for like 2 weeks for no reason at all. Just no reason.
Weird.
And they were like, no, it's great. We're really happy to have you here. And they were just plucky people, but it's for like a theater position. Is like, you know, a front desk person. And they're just theater people, so they were just slow and stupid, and like that'll just happen sometimes.
Yeah, to put in perspective, like on the other side of that, so for, like I said, for this job, it was like a day or two, and then I got a call back. For the job that I turned down, where they're like, we want you to do sales instead, and I said no. They called me literally as I was pulling up into my driveway, because to get to Mouston, it's like an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or something like that. I can't remember exactly.
Oh, yikes. You were going to make that drive? Fuck that.
Well, I applied for the job, and if I got the job, I was going to like get an apartment or something over there. Listen, I used to drive an hour and a half to here for 6 months, and then I finally said screw it.
That's awful. I don't know how anyone commutes anywhere over 25
I'll tell you
minutes.
how. It's through the power of audiobooks. If you haven't read the passage, it's really good, but I listened to it. Anyways.
And you know where you can listen to it? On your new shoes.
Oh, sneaker speakers.
I love whenever we don't have a guest, we do nothing but fuck around.
We accomplish actually nothing, but that's half our charm. And I throw that on my resume all the time.
Yeah, see, we have a great working. Oh, that's actually super important. That's one of the things you want to be checking for at an interview. And this isn't mandatory because, again, sometimes you just got to get that job. You got to make the money. You got to buy those Audible shoes. But like, if you're like deciding between like 3 or 4 jobs, like, you know, you just audition for like a goddamn anything in town and you're waiting to hear calls and you're like, yes. Okay, great. Nope, they didn't call me back for that one. Okay, I have 3 to pick from. One of the things that's most important, and this is super important if you're holding the interviews and you're looking to hire, is just if you jive with the other person.
Yeah.
And like, you'll note, like, the thing about humans is the gut feeling you have upon meeting someone within like 20 seconds, you're usually right about how much you're gonna like them.
I'm always right.
You are not, but you're close.
All right, I'll let that one slide because I like you, but
that's only because I liked you within the first 10 seconds of meeting you. I was like, this is a guy I could pitch shoes with.
Yeah, you can normally get a pretty good vibe of how things are going, or if you even jive with the individuals. And that's honestly pretty important, because if halfway through the interview you go, I don't like these people, and you know that you've got other options, I wouldn't worry about it too much, and I just start thinking about looking into another position.
Mm-hmm.
If your immediate reaction to the person who's possibly going to be your boss is, I don't like you, you probably don't want to work for them very much.
Yeah.
So interviews can also vary drastically. Like that's one of the problems with talking about this, is that they're so different. Every single one of them is so different. So when I auditioned, good Lord, when I applied for one of the bigger radio stations in the Twin Cities, it was for a promotions position. Promotions is just you go out to different events and you throw out like bracelets and say, listen to our radio station, we're really good. And they say, shut up, give me stuff. I'm like, okay. Anyways, that interview was, I think, 20 minutes long. It's pretty short. The one in Mouston was very strange, because I walked in and they said, this is really cool. And they brought me to this back room and they handed me this pamphlet, or not a pamphlet, a packet, I should say, and said, just fill out these questions. We'll be back. And it was 100 goddamn questions. It was like a goddamn Scantron test. I was like, okay. So I filled this out thinking I was in high school again. They popped back in about 20, 30 minutes later, because that's how long it would like take to fill all this garbage out. We chitty-chatted for a while, and then I drove home and I was given a job and I said no. Then for this job, it was, I think, 10, 20 minutes. It was very short, but they liked me, and then they hired me. So, I mean, man, I've heard where interviews are you actually go out and have lunch with them. Like you have a full lunch with these people. I've heard that these interviews are an hour long. It varies so drastically between.
I know when Aaron was looking for a bunch of different jobs, I know he was going out for a job with that other game company, can't remember their name. And it was like
Obsidian?
a multi-step interview process, which sometimes they'll do that with like callbacks basically.
Yeah.
And he had one that was like you submit like you like submit an essay, and then if they like your essay, they'll like hang out with you for like a day or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they decide from there. So like it's super weird because it's basically, I mean, and I actually think that's a good way to do it because every employer is different and you should all be looking for people who fit you. And the best way to do that is to hang out with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, that is one of the things is that interviews are very different. They operate very differently. But some of the basic things that we've already said, which is just be presentable, be pleasant. And I think it is important that if the interview is going well, a lot of people worry that they can't ask questions. You can ask questions. You should just know which ones are good. For example, a bad question is, how much am I getting paid? It's not a
bad question. It's a bad question to lead with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely more of a, like, as the interview has gone on and on, you're like, okay, we're really jiving. I'm feeling pretty confident about this. Then you could probably squeak that one in if you're really interested.
Be like, yeah, like what's the starting pay per hour or something? Because like it's a job. People know what you're there to get money. It's a fucking job. That's what they're for. But like asking things, especially if they don't tell you.
Yes.
Like have no fear about asking like, yeah, what are the hours? About how many people work here, dependent, like some positions it's like, yeah, I specifically want to go to this job because it has like 30 people and I know it's going to be pretty intensive and I'm looking for that, versus like, oh, this company has like 500 people in this one building and like maybe that's suitable for someone. But like, those are like little things you want to ask. Are hours flexible at all? Like, how many hours is it a week? Because sometimes they don't tell you that shit coming in. So anything that's simple and straightforward like that is totally fair. And you should try and have some level of, like, try and notice if they're getting like, okay, yeah, all right. Anyway, going back to the interview, like they're trying to move things along.
Yeah.
Like you might be asking too much, probably not, but you might be asking too many. Though on that note, if they are like pointedly not answering really simple questions and you're not getting very much information out of the job and it's like to a suspicious degree, that's a little weird and you might want to be kind of wary of the offer. Like you should know the ballpark amount of like of the wage. You should know the ballpark of the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll usually ask you if you have reliable transportation or a reliable way to get to the job. The answer is literally always yes.
Yep.
There is no employer in the world is going to have 5 applicants and they're never going to pick the one who is like, no, I don't always have a car, but like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
No one will pick that guy because just like get in the employer's head from a business perspective. Like, imagine you're doing a group project and it's like picking people. And it's like, okay, why should I pick you on my group project? And the person's just like, oh, blah, blah, blah. And you get to the next one. And it's like, why should I pick you? And they're like, oh, I'm pretty good. It's like, okay, great. Oh, but one thing. I might not be there one in every like 3 days. Well, why not? Do you have a scheduled thing? No, I just don't know. It just might not happen. Like, no one wants that guy.
Yeah. Because, I mean, listen, you have to understand from a business perspective, they need people that they can rely on. And I realize, and it might feel really crappy that because of your circumstances, you don't have that luxury of having that vehicle. I'm sorry, from a business perspective, can't hire you. It just doesn't make sense to. So always say yes. And I mean, there are options. I mean, it might suck, but you could Uber to work. I wouldn't recommend
Uber.
that.
You can kind of discreetly be like, hey, can I carpool with like like a friend who lives nearby?
Yeah.
Or another one of the employees. You can just take public transport. You can ride a bike. You can get there on foot if you have to. Obviously, this is a bad thing to do if you're like doing the job that's like an hour and a half away. And it's like, yeah, I can totally make that. And this is the one day a week you're allowed a car. Like, that's just not going to be an option for you.
Yeah, sorry, that's just not going to work, mate. You're going to need to find a more reliable form of transportation.
Also, I haven't seen this one around as much, and it's probably not an issue for anyone younger than we are, but if they ever ask if you have a cell phone or a house phone or an easy way to contact you, also say yes.
Yes, absolutely. That one might be a little harder to lie about.
Because you're probably going to need to put down a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, you could just write down like an email address and then go home and register that email address immediately. It's pretty easy.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Yeah. And besides, like you said, in this day and age, who doesn't have a cell phone?
Yeah, but I just wanted to throw it out there because it is a thing.
Here's just one thing to kind of watch out for is that sometimes, and this is just the interviewer's job, they're not trying to be a dick. They have sneaky questions. I love these. Sneaky questions are the ones where you like on the surface, it seems like a pretty normal question, but there are certain things that an interviewer can't ask you. But if they phrase it a certain way, you might just give them the information they're looking for that can really impact your possibility of getting the job. One that I learned that not because I was asked this, obviously, or a concern, but I learned it from my interviewing class that I took in college, was a question that they might ask you is, so do you have any family that lives nearby, or how close are you with family and things like that? It's more just like if they're a family business and things like that. And it seems nice. Really what they're looking for if you're a gal is if you are pregnant or have plans of being pregnant soon. And that might sound weird because they can't just ask you that. But their concern is that if you are pregnant or going to be pregnant soon, they're hiring someone only to send them on maternity leave, like within a year.
And like maybe even be paying for them not to work for them for the majority of a year.
Yeah, so exactly. Like, and so from a business perspective, I get it. Like it seems ridiculous to hire someone and then a few months later go, bye, I got to get someone else to fill in for you while you're gone and then you come back. So I get it from a business perspective. But watch out for that.
Another thing, we got a couple questions on this. How exactly did they phrase this? Basically, like if they're asking you things about veteran status, gender, race, disability, like are those traps? Should you answer them honestly? And that's a really dicey field. Gender, I'm pretty sure they don't get to ask you that. Like, but the problem is, it'll be like, legally, you can't discriminate against these people for any like gender or like sex related reason. And the thing is, though, they will just like say you are in like super racist, backwards nowhere, Alabama, or not racist, well, probably that too, but like just transphobic or whatever. Say you're a trans gal. And they're like, well, you look like a guy. And it's like, yeah, but I'm like, I identify as female. And they're like, oh, cool. All right. I don't think God appreciates that, but that's fine. And then they don't.
This is a Wendy's.
Yeah. If they really don't want to hire you because they're the worst, then they'll just find another reason. Yep. And like, that's just, it sucks. It's the worst, but they will. So the two things I would say specifically for gender, and I'm specifically thinking this as trans because I don't know what else they'd ask that would like come up pretty reasonably.
Yeah.
Like, or at least reasonably often. So, I would say if you have not told like if you're still kind of closeted or have only told some friends, but like not your family, I probably wouldn't tell them.
Oh, of course not. No.
Yeah, because you never know where that information will go. And also, like, if you're not comfortable with some people doing it, it's like, you don't know what these people are going to do with this information. Like, I'm thinking if they do hire you even, because they'll be like, if they could even call your house and be like, yeah, like, she was over here. What do you mean she? Oh, shit. What?
Oh, shit. Yeah, no. I'm pretty confident that's information that folks that are more closeted with that wouldn't release, especially to a business.
I know, but like you never know.
People's situations are different. Yeah.
So that, and then if you're worried, like, if you think, here's what I'll say. If it's like a small job you don't think you'll have for like more than a year, like you're just making ends meet at a goddamn 7-Eleven or a McDonald's for a little while, and you really are in like bumfucky Kentucky, and you can't, like, you're pretty sure it'll be an issue if you bring it up, especially in the interview process, I would not. At least, like, I think it's gonna hurt your chances if that's the environment you're in.
Yeah.
And I know that sucks, and I know it's like
It's wrong.
It's objectively wrong, and it also feels shitty because you're lying about who you are. But like, if you need that job, I like, to be honest, I wouldn't mention it.
Yeah. But that being said, if you're in a more open-minded community, which is hopefully where we're getting towards,
Yeah.
I think it is okay. Simply because if it is a more open-minded community and you inform of this and they seem to react in a negative way, you might not want to work for them anyways. Because that's just not an environment you want to be in. So, I mean,
also, if you
go for it.
Sorry, I was gonna say, if you are like interviewing everywhere in town because you're just getting a job, you just need one, then I might tell, like, and you're already out, I might tell people just to be like, okay, these two seemed at least a little cool with it, and the other like 6 were totally not cool with it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously that narrows your options.
Yeah.
I was going to move on to the third part of that question, which was disability. Did you have anything more to say on gender?
Yeah, I mean, once again, it just kind of boils down to situation and what you're comfortable with saying. Because I'm pretty, like you said, I'm quite certain they can't just ask you that.
Yeah.
I'm quite certain they can't. So, but yeah, with disability, I think you need to be a little upfront about this. Within reason.
The thing with disabilities are, whether it's physical or mental, I would definitely say know what you're going into, like, and know how much, like, okay, this job, like, my condition will affect this job in this, like, in these ways, like, my chances, like, how would this affect me and my actual ability to perform what they're going to need me to do.
Right.
And you're going to need to really be able to evaluate your positives and be like, yeah, I'll be upfront. This is a thing that I have. It's something I like, and here's how I deal with it. But here's all the great shit about me, and here's why you should hire me.
Exactly.
Or, like, even better, just like in the middle of the interview, just be like, oh yeah, I also have, like, this is a thing about me, but it, like, won't affect this position. And they'll just be like, oh, okay, like, yeah, cool.
I think you do need to present that information, though, but obviously present to them all the things that you can do, just like you said, or the things that you excel at. Just because, like, I hate to say this, from a business perspective, it can be one of those things of just like, I'm not sure.
This is like, this is a good piece of advice for the entire process. Try and get in their head from, like, a mathematical, objective, businessy standpoint. Like, what are they going to want from you? And say for whatever reason, like, say you have a service animal, and you're trying to work in a place where animals are, like, not really going to be cool. Like, obviously, I don't think that's going to be an option, just because that's something about you that is non-compatible. Those puzzle pieces don't fit. Or say it's like, okay, how many hours is this job? It's like, oh, this is 9 to 5, 5 days a week, and there's a little wiggle room, but it's not really negotiable. And you're like, oh, okay. I kind of have, like, an energy fatigue thing, and or, like, I sometimes go into, like, depressive spats, and, like, blah blah blah. Like, even if you have, like, it's validated by a doctor, and, like, I know all about it. It doesn't matter, because if you're like, yeah, I'm only reliably, I can pretty much only guarantee, like, there's gonna be some weeks where I'll just be coming in, like, 2 or 3 days out of the week, and they'll be like, okay, all right.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, and, like, I've hired before, I can completely understand. Their brain just goes, not this person. And it's shitty because you can't control it, but it is hard to blame them when they're looking at a list of 10 people and 9 of them are like, yeah, I can work all 5 days a week. And one of them's like, I'm kind of a Russian roulette about it. So I might not just, like, I might just not show up some days, and it's not my fault, but it is the case.
Yeah.
And that sucks, but, like,
it does suck. It's super shitty, but I need to look up if this is actually correct, but there is a phrase called fiduciary duty, where what it means is that you are in a position at a company, and your fiduciary duty is to make sure that this company is at its most efficient, no matter what. Even if it means terminating your own job, your fiduciary duty is to make sure this place runs its best. So why wouldn't you hire the people that fit the criteria perfectly or as close to it as possible?
So basically what you want to do, first of all, don't highlight your disability, mention it, but like if the little like tell me about yourself thing in the middle of the interview is just, or like tell me about your availability, you should be like, yeah, note about me. This is like a thing I like to do. This is something I'm good at. This is something I'm maybe not so good at. Also, I have such and such, and it causes these things. Here's how I deal with it. Moving on. And if they ask more questions, answer them. Be brief and honest, but you really don't want to you don't want it to be the thing they remember about you. Cause like I have literally some of my coworkers who did get hired. So, but like there was one girl who, I don't even know what this is, but she had lupus, and like that was all I knew about her. Cause that was like all she fucking talked about. And like, if I was the interviewer looking at a group of people, I wouldn't pick lupus girl because I don't remember anything about her other than that she has lupus.
Right.
So, don't be lupus girl.
There you go, kids.
Don't be Remus Lupin.
But yeah, so that's sort of the heavier part of interviews, and unfortunately it's kind of a downer. But
remember those Audible shoes?
Way to bring it back.
Thanks.
But in general, if you can get past those hurdles, the only next thing that you really need to encounter with the interview itself are questions. Questions can really vary what they'll ask because every job is different. There's different things that they worry about and that they're focused on. Do you want to just talk about like if you're hosting the interview?
Yeah, well, we can do both sides of this.
Yeah.
So you like never look up like what questions are they gonna ask, because you have no fucking idea. And if you're lucky, they also haven't done that, because again, I mentioned my mom was job hunting and she did like a bunch of interviews and was talking about some of the bad ones. And we mentioned like acting like you're interested in being friendly. She came home after one and was like, yeah, the lady was just like on her goddamn cell phone the whole time when we were doing interviews. Like, why the fuck were you even there? Like, there were two people and she was just there on a cell phone. But so don't be that guy.
Yeah.
But if you're doing an interview, don't just go like, I don't know what I want. Type Google, what do you ask in an interview? What are your strengths and weaknesses? That's the nice weather we're having of interviews. Don't do it. That's the Webster's Dictionary defines to like, that's what that is to essay starting of job interviews.
Yeah.
Like, you want to ask specific questions that will guide you to picking the candidate that will do the job the best. And if like Will, your job, the job you currently have, you were like, yeah, I was there for 15 minutes. You were telling me about this when we were preparing for this. It's like, yeah, I met like two of the people and they were both pretty cool. And they were just like, all right, yeah, shit, whatever. And we got along well enough. And they were like, all right, that's about it. Like, did they even ask you that much?
No, not really. I mean, honestly, all it really was like, so if I'm, because this is like 6.5 years ago and I'm trying to remember it. So kind of how it worked was I sat down and they went, cool. What got you interested in working here, and what do you think that you can bring to the table? And I gave them my long-winded answers of on air seemed interesting, but I vastly preferred being behind the scenes because I liked adding all those bells and whistles and giving things a little more energy to them. It was also a lot more creative freedom, I felt, and being able to it felt more tangible really for creating content. You know, like I had something, like I could build something. With a show, yeah, people are going to hear it, but like, no, let's be reasonable. No one hears a radio bit and goes, I'm adding this to my collection. Like, no one does that.
Yeah.
And then they also asked me is like, do you have reliable transportation? And I said, yes, even though I'm an hour and a half away. I didn't mention that part. I figured I would just make the drive and we just deal with it.
Yeah. If the answer to a stock question, is an answer they probably don't want to hear, don't bring it up yourself.
Yep.
Like, don't mention that you live an hour and a half away.
Yeah. They just asked me a couple things about, my resume, which was like, hey, it says here that you made this Lone Ranger audio thing and you also have a CD. Can you tell me a little bit about that? And I just gave them the full explanation of I learned leadership and things like that, and it was a lot more challenging than I expected, and yada yada yada. I just like gave them a full answer, and they were just like, that's super cool. By the way, you have a really nice voice. Anyways, I've got other things to do. Bye-bye. And so the main guy walked out, and I went, okay. And I looked at the other guy who's my creative director now, really cool dude. And he's just like, cool. You want a tour of the facility? I was like, okay. And he's like, that's that station, that's that station, that's that station, that's that station. Any questions? No. Well, thank you for your time. This was really nice. Yeah, no, nice to meet you too, William. Bye. That was it. There really wasn't a whole hell of a lot involved. So the questions can really vary. And sometimes they're pretty generic. Sometimes they're a little more involved. My personal favorite question that I've heard from an interview actually came from a traffic director that we used to have here. She was great. And the question that she would always start her interviews with people was, if you were an animal, what would you be and why? And I asked her, I was like, that's really weird and doesn't answer anything. And she said, on the contrary, it answers many things. First and foremost, I find out what their favorite animal is, most likely. That's just a fun thing to know. Second, I like to see their moment of panic or how they react to something that they did not anticipate. How are they under pressure? Because that's a weird thing to ask during an important job interview. Second, I want to see what kind of bullshit reason they can come up with why they think that they're a panther or a frog or a dolphin. What dumb answer do they have that also seems feasible to be useful for their possible job opportunity?
I love that question because not only does it like put me at ease because it's like, oh, what? All right, animal question. Okay. And it like puts you and the interviewer on friendlier terms. But like, as an interviewer asking that question, I like that because it lets you know if you're going to mesh with someone very quickly. Because if I was holding an interview, I was like, yeah, first off, what if you were an animal, what kind of animal would you be? Well, okay, that's not all right. I guess I'd be a cat.
Why?
Okay. Why would you be? Well, I have a cat. I like cats. Okay. Yeah, like for me that would be like a
yep.
Okay. Like personally, that would lose you more points than most regular questions could delve into.
Yeah, I like that. I really like that question too because it also kind of sees if they're a creative person and what their personality is. Because if they're like a fuddy-duddy stick in the mud, they're gonna be like, oh, this has nothing to do with a job. I went to Harvard or something. It's like, well,
and here I am in Minnesota.
Here I am in Minnesota for a radio job.
Yeah, so how'd Harvard go?
Yeah. If you could be a college dropout, where would it be?
Yeah, but like, I don't know, throwing in like, and that again depends on what position you're hiring for. But I think that's a good question to open up with.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, that's neat. Yeah, but when the one like more standard job I've had, and it's still fairly non-standard, was I used to give tours on a tram at a zoo, and for the interview for that, which is the only formal job interview I've ever had, I guess. They were just like, it was just like a little old lady, and she sounded like this. And I was like, oh, hi, what are we, okay, like introduce yourselves, etc. And they were still like very standard questions, but there were only like 4 questions. And I was amazed because it was just things like, if a park guest gets upset and you don't know how to handle it, or you think they're in the wrong, but you need, like, what do you do? And I'm like, well, I mean, they're the guest, so you have to like not be mean to them and you have to make them feel good. So if they're really, really insistent and I can't calm them down or resolve the situation, I guess I would probably call like a manager or a senior worker who knows what to do better than I do, because I don't want to make them mad, but like I also don't want to make them mad by accident because I don't know what I could do something wrong and it's out of my hands. And like I had 2 bosses,
Yeah.
and they both look at each other like, oh, he knows. And it's like, really? Like, is that not the base level answer? But like, I guess it isn't.
Yeah.
And
You'd be surprised, dude. You'd be really surprised.
you know, just like ask like really simple things like, what if a customer does such and such? But like just like 1 or 2 and like, okay, great, moving along. What are you doing after this? Maybe not the question to ask.
Yeah, that might be, might not want to ask that one.
This is sort of a separate point, but I just noticed this on our bullet list and we skipped it. What we briefly mentioned, like, yeah, I don't think it's such a big deal, because it really isn't, unless you're doing your like hard gunning interview, like this is my pitch meeting for my big thing, it's the job I've always wanted, like then it makes more sense for me to be nervous. But for most jobs, especially like it's an entry level job, so, and there's like 100 of them, and it doesn't really matter which one I get, but like I kind of prefer this one. Don't get super flustered mid interview, no matter, even if you think you fucked up. Like, first of all, there's more time to recover, and like the faster you recover, the better it'll look, because people are willing to forgive like a fuck up mid interview. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah, because most of them understand it's like that you're nervous.
It's like, the other thing is, step back, like get out of your own head and think of the actual consequences of getting this job or not getting it, which like maybe you are sincerely in like a dire situation and you like need this job.
Yeah.
But like for most of us, it's just like, okay, well, if I fuck up this interview, then I won't get this job and I will be in exactly the same situation as I am right now. Okay, I guess. And then there's, I mean, like I have like 2 or 3 other interviews that I'm still waiting to hear back from. And like, I guess there's a bunch of other opportunities. This isn't really a big deal. And also, on that being said, that's one of the reasons why it's also okay to, if like 45% of the way into a job, you realize, ooh, you do not want to work for these people.
Yeah.
Or you are super not cool with something, then it's cool to just be like, mentally, like, yeah, this is not gonna happen.
Yeah. Definitely, like, finish the interview.
Yeah, don't like get up and be like, fuck you, and leave.
You don't get to do that. That leaves a really bad impression, and they're gonna look up what your name was from that interview and go, oh, it was this fucking asshole, huh? Okay. And people talk, man. I don't know. I highly doubt that, like, if you were applying to Arby's, they're like, hey, Burger King, this guy Jeremy,
ace me Arby's.
Don't you let Jeremy in, don't you dare. But people still talk, you know.
Oh, we also skipped over this one. A question they also might ask, if you have previous work experience and you gave them a resume, or even if you didn't, sometimes they might ask why you left your left your last job and why you need a new one, or why you're transitioning, especially if it's more recent that you left your job.
Yeah.
And be sure not to talk badly about your last job. Even if it was a shit show, even if like the reason you quit is because like the manager was like a fucking monster who is like molesting people, don't fucking bring that up, because like I know that, like, I mean, bring that up to the police.
Well, yeah,
but
obviously.
Like don't bring that up in this interview, because even if they were like the worst motherfucker, if you're like, yeah, I didn't get along with my boss, it doesn't matter how in the right you were, the interviewer's gonna go, okay, didn't get along with your boss. That all right. Okay. Like that's not good.
It lets them use their imagination.
Mm-hmm.
And that's dangerous.
So like you're gonna want to answer that question more along the lines of like, hey, Will, why'd you transition? Like, why'd you leave your last job? Why are you looking to move to this position?
I felt it was time to move on to something else. I felt I'd learned all that I could from there, and I was seeking more challenges, and I feel like this was a good step. Plus, maybe, and this might be true, plus you're closer to where I live.
Oh, yeah, okay, that's good. And if I can continue this little back and forth, what is something you learned from your last position that you think would be useful in this? Let's say you're going from radio job to radio job.
It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to request assistance and learn from each other, because if you do that, then you are able to work on your own if needed. But better yet, you can then help other people because they're going to rely on you too. I think it's just really important for everyone to realize that this is a team effort. And if you go in playing lone wolf, it's just not going to work out for anyone.
Okay. Yeah, no, that was good. I'll call you in 12 weeks for no reason.
Great.
Not to hire you, just to say hey.
Hey, how's it going? Did I get a job? No, but I was curious if you wanted dinner.
I thought you were cute.
Bye. Doesn't even wait for a response.
Hangs up on there.
Oh, I missed.
Oh. Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. That's most of the base stuff we wanted to cover. We have a few questions. Some of these are, I should say, some of these talk specifically about resumes. In case you are like interested in more of the general topic of like preparing basically your cover letters and stuff that's like being presented before in-person interviews, because this is mostly for in-person stuff.
Yeah.
Or sometimes over the phone. Also, if you have the option, always do an in-person interview.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, that's it. There's no reason not to. It's just the best. Phones suck. If you need help with I need to introduce myself digitally or through paper or by like writing an email, that's it's like our third episode, I think. It's demo reels and resumes. Just skip to the resume stuff. So someone asked, I have no experience. What do I do if I'm getting a new job? You have experience. It is not job experience. You need to find ways to twist things you've done in your life and in your hobbies and in schoolwork and in volunteer work into experience.
Yep.
Because if you are 15 years old and you literally have no experience, what have you been doing for 15 years there, buddy? Like,
okay, Dad.
You got a hobby? Well, seriously though.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah. Let's say you're a part of the robotics team. You've learned teamwork from that, because I highly doubt you built the robot by yourself.
The robotics team? Where did you go to school?
Oh, did you not have a robotics team?
No.
Oh, we had a robotics team. It was super cool.
My school had like flight simulators, and we didn't have a robotics team.
We didn't have a flight simulator.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm saying it's bullshit that we didn't have a robotics team, since clearly we were blowing money all over the place.
Flight simulator. Okay, that's...
Yeah, I was in a school with a class of 900, so we had a fuck ton of things to do.
But not robotics.
Not robotics.
Anyways.
Anyway.
Let's say you were, I would wager this, like, let's say you're the captain of a football team or whatever. I don't know. You're some crazy jock kid. Anyways, that's leadership. You know how to take command. You know how to organize things. Yeah,
being part of a team. What had I done since I hadn't accomplished anything by 15, but I'd done stuff. Oh, I was in Boy Scouts. That's a ton of things right there. If you've ever done any boy or girl, like Girl Scouts, business management. You had to sell cookies, interpersonal communication skills.
Oh yeah.
You can. It's so easy. Like, just anything you've done ever, you can just squeeze the shit out of it and find some stuff. And like, you never know what people will and will not be impressed by on a resume. And also, resumes aren't, like, especially if you're also doing an in-person interview, resumes are not as important as you think. Also, they should never be more than a page long. We talk about that before, but like, there's not that much that goes on a resume. You just got to put some bullet points on it for a little bit.
I think the biggest thing on your resume that if you don't have much experience are your references. I personally think so. Let's say you've got a really chill teacher or something like that. Ask them if they can be your reference for a job.
I've had teachers on my references.
Yeah,
before,
and I did too as well. Even when I was applying for this job, if that tells you anything,
say you do like theater stuff and you are like, at least on, like, you don't need to be best friends, but like, the director doesn't hate you. And it's just like, hey, we've done like 2 shows together.
Mm-hmm.
Would you mind, I'm going out for a job next week. Can I put you down as a reference and get like your home phone or something? And like, can I, they might call you. Is that okay? And they'll say yes or no. And if they say, like, they usually don't even call.
Yeah.
Like more often than not. Or like, just, scout leader. I'm trying to think of other stuff. A lot of people where I live, they were like caddies over the summer on golf courses. You could do like a manager there. That's an easy job to get with very little experience. You just need to hold a fucking bag.
You're not wrong.
You get paid a lot for being a caddy, from what I've heard. It just sucks.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because like it's golf. It's a bunch of rich white people tipping you a shit ton. So
that sounds great.
Yeah, except you also have to be out on a golf course watching people be bad at golf in the sun for like 12 hours. So
yeah, the sun part's what really drags it down. I think I'd have a lot of fun interacting with old people and getting money for it.
Yeah, like, but just so I tried out for my zoo job, had actually no formal job experience, but I had taken a bunch of even classes in school that you think are like a little relevant. I basically did a bunch of like theater stuff in my that was my focal point on my resume, because they were like, why do you want to do this job? And I'm like, oh, well, it's I need a job, honestly, but like I wanted one that would work with me personally, and I think I'd be good at this because I do theater and I do voice work, and I like to think I'm a little bit charismatic, and I've also been to the zoo before. I've seen this job, and it's fun. You get to interact with a lot of people. You get to do these little like the tram tours, and I'm sure there's a script. There is a script, and like, but I've also I've been on them enough times to be like, oh, they sometimes like add little things, and it's specifically, it is kind of a performance, right? Like, oh yeah, it's kind of a performance, and it's like, yeah, so like that's, like find that angle, find some connection with other stuff you've done. And the other thing is, for base level jobs, generally, like, you want to work in a movie theater, they're not looking for like a sheet of references and shit. They're looking for a warm body. Like, it's not that hard.
Honestly, the most important part for those, like I said, I think references can be useful. If you have no experience, just so the person's like, all right, what do they really like? But I think the most important thing when going to those job interviews, if you don't have much experience, is just be pleasant, be likable. All right.
I mean, if you have to like practice with a parent or a friend, like just faking that pleasantness and charisma, or not faking it, but usually faking it. Life.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of that.
Then very similar question with a very similar answer. Let's say you only have work experience in a particular field, such as I've only worked in food or restaurants and service industry. How do you go about trying to transition to another job, such as retail or office work? Same thing, where you just squeeze out a little bit of that, like, okay, well, I did restaurant work. I was like a busboy. I was the lowest thing on the food chain there, so to speak. And now I want to do something else. And like, let's go a little more ambitious. I think the example we used before was like, goddamn, something that has nothing to do with food service. Like, maybe in your free time you do a little bit of musical stuff, because this is still like a creative production podcast. And you saw that like online or nearby, some people were like, hey, I'm going to commission someone. We need someone to write a song for, like, maybe we're doing some dumb festival and we need to like make a video for it. You'd be like, yeah, I'd be good for that. Or like they want someone in-house to do that frequently. What you're going to want to do is be like, oh, okay, so I don't have any formal musical experience or whatever. I mean, you don't open with that, but like this is you writing it. Okay, I don't have any formal musical experience, but I do music on the side. I play different instruments. And that one time, Jim and me, we were like jamming out and we ended up recording some stuff, and we made like a little CD. And a friend of mine once did like a stop motion animation, and I did some music for it, and I can talk about that.
Yeah.
That's something I've taken music classes in school. Like, It's kind of similar to the thing I always say about people where it's like, how do I get good at stuff? And when do I start doing stuff? Do stuff all the time. Yep. If you want to get famous for doing stuff, do stuff on your own, because then you have stuff to show off. So if you want a job in an industry, you got to start doing that stuff on your own before you even get like actually a job in that industry.
Yeah.
Like I did YouTube stuff for fun way before I started getting paid for it. And same thing with graphic design and artwork.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, there's really not much else to add on to that. That pretty much sums it up, really.
I've had several temporary jobs, both in and out of my field in 2018, and I may be freelancing full-time for a while. How do I reflect this on my resume without looking like a flake? I would say the best thing to do is be ready, whatever you have on that resume, however many of those things you want to put on there, for each one, have something ready that you got out of it to make it sound like it was a positive experience. And if it wasn't a positive experience and you have a lot of things, don't put them on there.
Yeah.
If you have a ton of stuff, only put the most relevant stuff on there. Because, like, I think there's about a 50-50 shot of someone seeing a ton of jobs on a resume and going, oh, this person has a lot of experience, versus, oh, this person has bounced around a lot.
Yeah.
And, like, it'll just depend on what kind of person you are when you see that. I know some resumes, this is optional. There's no rules for resumes. People put, like, I worked at this company from January of this year to December of 2 years later. Don't have that on there if you're really worried. Just be like, here's some things I've done. This, and this. And like, oh, wow, you've done a lot. which is less suspicious than if it's just like, oh, you have 8 jobs here and they were all in 2018. What's going on with you?
That's actually a really good point. I didn't even think of that because I've been kind of programmed from, like that interview class I was talking about. We learned how to do resumes, that you should put how long you worked there. And that is useful.
You should.
If you've been there for a long time. For example, this job would look pretty damn good on a resume of like, yeah, I was here for 6.5 years. Like, no slouch. Yeah, I think that's the best way to handle that is just don't put the time frame that you've been there. If you're going freelance, you have the luxury of just having the answer of, while I learned a lot from these different places and I did have a lot of fun, I've come to the conclusion that I enjoy being my own boss and doing things a certain way. Not because I thought what they were doing was bad. I just felt I could be more efficient doing it this way. It's like,
and then after that, you'd probably want to transition out with like, yeah, and I did that for a while and that worked well, but like, I kind of missed like a team environment, or like I kind of missed working with other people because I really like working with other people. And now I'm doing a little bit of both. So I'd like to jump back into the job market.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to be like, I love being my own boss. Okay, well, you're applying for this position. Fuck.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, sorry. I forgot. I was thinking along the lines of from the freelance only perspective. Yeah, that is true to like reel it back in.
Yeah, no, it's fair. Yeah, I guess that's about it. I just want to close this out with like we mentioned this when we were chatting about this as like a possible video to do, or a podcast episode to do. Like, a lot of guides for these types of things will be like, things to remember during an interview. Always like maintain eye contact at these exact moments. And this is how you should do a handshake. No one has ever fucking not hired someone because their handshake was like a little limp. Like that's not where the problem was.
Yeah. I mean, so when I applied for this job, I actually did a very bad job with eye contact. It's a dumb reason, but I think it's because there were 2 people in the room. And I was kind of panicked of like, who do I look at? Who's my focus? So I was kind of looking past a lot of them and things like that. I still got the job. My handshakes are not strong or tough. I'm a noodle of a person. That wasn't enough to prevent me from getting the job. And I mean, as you've heard with my ums and ahs, I say and ah quite a bit. That didn't prevent me from getting the job. You know? Like
a lot of things in both, the 2 things that always bothers me when it's like, never have ums or ahs, or there's a word for these, but I forget what they are. If you're doing interviews and shit, or if you're actually writing, which is a total separate thing, like a screenplay or something, it's okay to have some of those in there because that's how humans talk. And the reason we do that is because say I like, or wait, it's hard for me to even not do them. So I'm gonna do 2 right here to prove why they're good. Okay. So like say I'm talking to someone and there's a pretty good conversational flow, but like I forget exactly what I'm talking about versus, okay, say I'm talking to someone and there's a flow to the conversation, but I forget what I'm talking about a little bit. Like having the ums and ahs and that sort of thing, that's natural human speech because that's how you they actually keep your attention because it's a constant like flow of words.
Yeah.
Versus those even if you are still focusing on the other person while they're not talking, it's really noticeable when they're silent.
Yeah, it almost feels uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. It is
kind of eerie. Yeah. Obviously, you have too many ums and ahs. You sound like you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But, just all things in moderation, as usual.
All right. I think that's about it. So let's thank our patrons and call it a day.
Yeah.
So as always, you can shoot your suggestions for episodes and questions and all that good business over on our Tumblr, which is jelloopocalypse.tumblr.com, or on our Patreon, which is patreon.com/jelloopocalypse, or on Twitter at welcome to tweet, or in the comments of the YouTube videos. But Tumblr and Patreon are the best because those ones specifically give me notifications. So with that being said, let's thank our fabulous patrons that make this series possible. Our top 10 patrons this month are Nick,
Dave,
Clark Kent,
Red Brawl,
Chase'em Creed,
Rainbow Heart Unicorn,
Johnny Dragon,
Ewan Reed,
ECC,
and our top donor, Erzy.
Thank you all so much. And be sure to buy our Audible shoes.
Yay! I'm calling them speaker sneakers.
Shoodles.
Oh, my word!